How should we respond to success, especially in ministry? In this video, we're going to look at Matthew chapter 10, where we come to the second long block of teaching in this book. Matthew has demonstrated Jesus' authority in many ways. Now the ministry is taking off, and it has become more than one man can manage. So how Jesus reacted to the success makes this scripture that makes a difference. I'm Pastor Mike, and this channel is called Scripture That Makes a Difference, because I believe Scripture has made a difference in my life and that it can make a difference in yours as well. If this is your first time here, please learn more about our channel by reading the description below. And if you'd like more of this kind of content, just click the subscribe button and stick around to the end to see what can come from following Jesus' advice. In my study of this passage, I believe I've found 4 responses to the stress success can bring. Now, following these 4 suggestions will make ministry and life manageable when success brings stress. At the end of chapter 9, Jesus sees the multitude coming to receive ministry and laments the lack of manpower. He tells his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into the harvest." This has happened to many churches today as well. Nelson Searcy, a church leadership coach, warns that a successful church planter can become the bottleneck for future growth if he doesn't prepare others to take leadership. And corporate leadership experts advise to always be looking for others with leadership potential to help the organization take the next steps. So the church and the corporate world agree. At some point, it takes more than one person to make an organization successful. And how we react to that and what we discover about how to make that work in this passage is what makes this Scripture That Makes a Difference. If we start at the end of Matthew chapter 9, we begin to find those 4 principles that help us make that transition from being a sole proprietor into being a corporation, a cooperation of people working in ministry. As Jesus said, it starts with prayer. Pray to the Lord of the harvest. Pray to Jesus that his church will have more people to share the workload. And then in chapter 10, verse 1, he begins to instruct his people by calling 12 people out of his disciples to take a new office. So he's told us to pray. He's told us to identify the potential leaders. And then he creates a new office for them. That's the third point. He fills a new office. In verses 2 through 4, we actually even get the names of the people that are identified to fill the role of apostle, sent ones. After that, verses 5 through 15 is basically the job description. And he gives them very clear, distinct instructions and a strategy to follow to fulfill their office. He starts by giving them a very focused target. Not to go to the Gentiles, not to go to the people of Samaria, but to go to the lost sheep of Israel. A very focused target. He tells them not to charge for their service, not to expect to be paid, but to expect to have their needs met. He says to go into a village, find a worthy home, and stay there. In a parallel passage, he says that a worker deserves their wages. And that worthy home will provide them with the food and clothing that they need while they minister in that village. But he also says don't force it. If he doesn't find someone of that caliber or that bent, to simply move on to the next village. So when we look through this entire passage, we see prayer as the starting place, followed by calling out the right people, identifying the leaders, giving them the office necessary for them to fulfill their work, and then a job description or a strategy that's very specific. The principle behind all of this is that together we can accomplish Jesus' goals. So when you feel burned out, overworked, or inadequate, we should be looking for people to help. That's true in the church world, but it's also true in the corporate world and also in our private lives. We can start with prayer. Pray to the Lord of the harvest. Send people to help. But then look for the answer to that prayer, the people that Jesus has sent. Then we need to give them the authority, the office necessary to do the work that Jesus has called them to do alongside us. But as leaders, we need to be very careful to give them the strategy necessary to accomplish their goals. Just as Jesus defined clearly the target, the resources, and the amount of force to use, the amount of assertiveness to accomplish the goals. And some have complained that this is a lot of work for somebody who's already overworked trying to do more than one person can do. But if we do this, there are some benefits. First, we'll stop being the bottleneck for our own organization. We'll stop being the person everybody has to go through to get authority, to get permission, to get resources, but we'll have diversified that out into the organization, diffused that out among the people so that people can get the work done. Second outcome would be to stop someone else from being a bottleneck below you in your organization. By giving them the authority and the freedom to make decisions, people don't come to them for answers they don't have, or to make decisions they don't feel authorized to make. But they can, on the fly, make the decisions necessary to keep your organization moving forward. The third outcome of this would be you standing out to those who are above you, who are trying to prevent bottlenecks in their organization below them. And these three ways of opening the decision-making bottlenecks in our organizations makes it practical to apply the four things that Jesus told us to do: praying, identifying, authorizing, and equipping. And practicing these things in our life makes this scripture that makes a difference. So what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Do you have questions or comments that you'd like to leave? I'd love to see those down below. Perhaps you have different views or have heard others demonstrate different views. Would love to discuss this with you through the comments below. And you can make suggestions for future content or techniques that might make this more useful for you in your life and with your friends. And don't forget that you can help YouTube know you appreciate this content by subscribing and clicking the bell. Then you'll get notified as soon as we release new episodes. And you can help get the difference-making scripture into the hands of others by sharing this through your favorite social media. And if you happen to live near Enid, Oklahoma, we'd love to have you come and visit us on a Sunday morning. Our service starts at 10 o'clock and our address is on our Facebook page. Until next time, may the Lord provide you with all the help you need for all the challenges that you face in your life.